What's going on, Mahomies? Jolt here from TheTokenMinorities, and I am back with the Round 1 battle of the GBA NPA League War, where your Kansas City Jirachiefs are taking on PaPaSea, the coach of the New York Klinks. I have faced PaPaSea one time in the past, way back in the GBA D League, over a year ago at this point. Time goes fast, guys. It really does. But, yeah, we did manage to pick up a win in that game, but this game is arguably more important as I really want to pick up the win for my boys in the GBA. Now, for those of you who may not be too familiar with how this whole league war is going to work, basically what's going to happen over the course of the next few days, we're going to have 17 battles happen between the two leagues. Most of us will be playing 2 games. I will be having 2 games. This is the first of 2. And essentially the first league to win 9 of those 17 games is going to win the entire war. So every single game is going to matter. I really want to go 2-0 throughout the course of this war. I think that's something I should be able to do and something I really want to be able to do for my teammates here in this war. So that's exactly what we're going to go for here in this matchup against PaPaSea. But before I talk about the team very briefly here, I do want to give a huge shout out and thank you to AA Round 2420 for recording my game for me literally at the last minute. I had to ask him for some help with recording my game. I had a lot of trouble getting getting my raw recording file for this video. He really bailed me out, so huge shout out to him. And just take a look at the quality that you see in this video, specifically the screen recording quality. I personally think it is absolutely fantastic, and AA Round 2420 has that on his channel for every single one of his Wi-Fi battles, so I highly recommend you go check him out for sure. Thank you so much, bud. So let's talk very briefly about the team that I'm bringing here and just the matchup in general. I'm not doing like a full team builder for this just because of basically time constraints, honestly. But what my opponent PaPaSea has access to is Zoroark, Zebstrika, Lando T, Mega Beedrill, Dragonite, and the Comfey. You can see those on your screen right now, but he also has access to a Darmanitan and a Starmie, while my team consists of the Escavalier, Hawlucha, Tapu Koko, Seismitoad, Mega Gallade, the Hydreigon, and then I also had access to Vileplume and Entei. Z-Captains on my side, Tapu Koko. I don't think I ever actually mentioned that in my draft analysis. Make sure to check that out as well if you haven't already. Gonna be linked down in the description below. Tapu Koko is my Z-Captain, access to pretty much any Z move, and on PaPaSea's side, his Z-Captain is the Dragonite. Now, a couple things I wanted to mention about the team matchup before I just very briefly go through what my team is. This matchup is really hard. Okay, this matchup is so hard for my team because Comfey is like the one Pokemon that shuts down all of my offense. Okay, Comfey having the +3 priority Draining Kiss is able to deal with Hydreigon, Mega Gallade, and Hawlucha with relative ease. My speed isn't even able to out-prioritize him, even if I brought like extreme speed and Entei or something like that. Sure, Entei would have been good against the Comfey here, but talking specifically about even the Tapu Koko, the Hawlucha, Gallade, and the Hydreigon, none of those appreciate Comfey. Comfey is like one of the 2 biggest threats against my team just because of how well it's able to check my offense. But the other Pokemon that's so annoying for my team is Dragonite, because it's hard for me to get Stealth Rocks onto the field if he were to have bring his or if he were to have brought his Starmie in this matchup, which you don't see it on his team, so I'm really surprised about that. And honestly, like some of the earlier drafts of this team I was building would have been a lot more effective if I just knew he wasn't going to try to bring Starmie. But you know, that was his decision, and I kind of lost out there with my thought process and prep, I suppose. But actually, the fact that he doesn't have Starmie is going to make this matchup feel a lot easier than it would have otherwise, mainly because Starmie is able to deter or get rid of the hazards from my only hazards that are on my team in Seismitoad. Like, Toad cannot really keep up rocks against Starmie pretty much no matter what I do, so I was almost confident he was going to bring Starmie for that role. But now I actually have a chance of getting rocks up in this game, and with rocks up in the game, I might actually be able to deal with the Dragonite a little bit better than I thought I would have been able to otherwise. But basically, a +2 Dragonite puts in a lot of work against my team, especially if I were to bring like more standard sets on my offensive mons. And as a result of that, you're going to see some pretty wild prep, I think, with some of the mons that I'm bringing here. Maybe not wild, but unexpected. I'm going to say you probably don't expect my sets, especially the Hawlucha. So very briefly, going through the team that I'm bringing for this matchup, I have a Choice Scarf Hydreigon, very simple stuff. I know I said I didn't want to bring a Choice Scarf Hydreigon with this draft, but you know what? Dragonite's a threat. Mega Beedrill is really annoying. point, I kind of have to do it. It's very unfortunate, but I needed to have that little bit of extra speed control for +1 Dragonite and that little bit of extra speed control for the Mega Beedrill, especially considering he has the Lando T and the Comfey to easily revenge kill, or just switch into or revenge my my Hawlucha, which otherwise would be my way of outspeeding something like the Mega Beedrill or a +1 Dragonite. So bring in the Choice Scarf Hydreigon, very simple set, Dragon Pulse, Dark Pulse, U-Turn, and then Hyper Voice. Instead of Flash Cannon, I didn't really see myself clicking Flash Cannon in this game just because he just had ways to switch into it, and that would be a pretty ballsy prediction to try to catch the Comfey coming in when Flash Cannon wouldn't really do much to the rest of this team otherwise. He ultimately opted to not bring 2 of his Steel Resists, both of which I really thought were coming, the Dharma and the Starmie. So in hindsight, looking at what he actually brought, Flash Cannon would have been better than Hyper Voice, but I figured it would have been nice to have that normal attack to kind of spam against his team since he doesn't have a Steel type and therefore no normal resist on his draft. So that's the Hydreigon that I'm bringing. A Mega Gallade, just a very simple 4 attack set, Shadow Sneak knockoff, Ice Punch and Poison Jab, just very good coverage against his team. I'm Adamant Nature due to his speed tiers. That made a lot of sense in this matchup. The only thing I miss out on outspeeding is the Zoroark, which can't really do anything to me anyways, so I was definitely happy with that. And the Adamant Nature will allow me to get the kill on incoming Lando T a little more easily, potentially do more damage to his faster Frail Bonds that could give me some trouble in the game as well. Seismitoad, relatively straightforward set, just my Stealth Rocker, Rocky Helmet user, along with having Earthquake, Knockoff, and Icy Wind to help keep the Dragonite in check. Then I have Tapu Koko, my Z-move user. It is running the Electrium Z with Volt Switch, HP Ice, Wild Charge to be able to deal with a potential Calm Mind boosting Comfey. And then I also have Roost on the Tapu Koko to help me 1v1 the Zebstrika, potentially to also help me 1v1 the Comfey. Then I have Hawlucha, which is a very unexpected set, like I told you. Go ahead and pause the video and try to guess what the Hawlucha set is down below, because I guarantee you will not. It is a bulky Hawlucha with Roost, Toxic, Protect, and Acrobatics. Okay, this is a really wild set, I know. It made a lot of sense to try to run something simple like a Swords Dance Hawlucha, but hear me out. A Toxic Stall Hawlucha is by far the best way for me to always check and revenge a Dragonite. A Toxic Stall Hawlucha allows me to potentially 1v1 a Landorus T if he's not packing the Psychic, and even if he is packing the Psychic, I'm running a lot of special defense investment on the Hawlucha, which would actually allow me to 1v1 the Lando T unless he is invested in his special attack. This also allows me to potentially 1v1 a non-Calm Mind Comfey, as long as he is not like super heavily offensive invested at the same time. So this can really just 1v1 a ton of his team. He doesn't like switching into Toxic. He doesn't have that Steel type. His only way to switch into into Toxics is the Mega Beedrill, and you're never switching to Mega Beedrill on Hawlucha. Plus, what I really like about bulky Hawlucha is it's able to just straight up wall a Zoroark, which you'll see that kind of unfold here throughout this battle as well. Plus, considering the fact that the Zoroark is almost certainly going to be running Sludge Bomb for my Tapu Koko, it means it cannot run Extra Sensory. Those two moves are incompatible together. I learned that from having Zoroark in the D-League, so basically Hawlucha is going to entirely wall the Zoroark, so that's pretty cool. Then I'm also running a bit of a Toxic Stall Escavalier, basically my best way to deal with the Comfey. I am running Toxic, Protect, Iron Head, and Swords Dance. You can see how spammable Iron Head is against his team. So with all that said, let's go ahead and jump right on into the battle. My dedicated lead in this matchup was going to be the Escavalier. It's able to best scout out and deal with pretty much any lead he wants to go with. Even if he brought like Darmanitan and led with that, I had Protect to be able to scout out his Flare Blitz, and he's almost definitely, he would have been like Choice Scarfed if he brought it, I think. So he's going to actually lead off with Comfey. That could easily be the Zoroark, however, and Zoroark is a very common lead when it's on a draft, so I'm going to go ahead and Protect just in case it is a Zoroark. If it is, I expect that to be Choice Scarfed as well, and he does reveal the Flamethrower, therefore revealing that he is indeed the Zoroark. So I'm going to pull the relatively safe switch here, as he is going to actually pull a double first into his Landorus T, probably expecting me to pull a switch of some sort into one of my mons. I made the pretty safe switch into my Hydreigon here, expecting him to potentially just stay in and go for another flamethrower, but he is just going to go into his Lando T, and that's fine. I'm going to just go for the U-turn, because what U-turn does is it'll allow me to scout out what the Lando T's item is, and also potentially scout out what its investment is going to be as well. I was expecting him to go for Stealth Rock of his own. This is his only rocker on his team. Going to go hard into my Mega Gallade as an aggressive offensive switch into Lando. He just goes straight for a U-turn, revealing he is a max attack Adamant Lando. That tells me he is probably not running Psychic on this set, which means my Hawlucha is probably pretty free against the Lando T later on in the game. As here he's going to go into his Mega Beedrill, and I'm just going to go straight into my Escavalier. It seemed like overall the safest play in this situation, and he is going to go ahead and Mega Evolve and go straight for a U-turn. Not an unexpected play whatsoever, but as you can see, my Escavalier is heavily invested in its defense. In fact, it is max defense, and that U-turn pretty much bounces off the Escavaliers. Now he's going to go right back into his Lando T, and this is absolutely perfect for me, because what I really wanted to do against this Lando T was get a Toxic on it, and then let my Hawlucha go to work against it, because then there's no way Lando T can actually be able to 1v1 the Hawlucha later on. As long as I have that Toxic on it, I can continue to roost and protect it, etc., and it won't be an issue at all. Plus, potentially my Escavalier would have been able to wear it down on its own as well. However, he did reveal a pretty cool tech in the HP Fire, which is able to do a bunch of damage to my Escavalier. Fortunately, Lando T was not heavily invested in its special attack, so I was able to take that hit relatively well. I'm just going to go for a Protect, and I'm going to wear down the Lando T a little bit further with the Toxic Poison, and honestly, that's a theme you're going to see a little bit more throughout the rest of this game. The team is pretty heavily centralized around that Toxic Protect strategy. I really felt like that was the best way for me to have the best possible chance of winning this game in such a tough matchup. So I guess I apologize if I feel like that's a little bit stally, but that's what I have to do here. So I'm going to go into my Seismitoad. I did kind of expect him to just go for the U-turn, but just in case he went for an HP Fire, this would have given me an opportunity to get my Stealth Rock up right away. As here, he's going to pull the switch into his Zebstrika, potentially Zoroark. Either way, I do expect him to try to go for the grass coverage against my Seismitoad, so I'm going to go straight into my Hydreigon to chew that up. As he does just go for the hidden power, revealing this is definitely the Zebstrika, and my Hydreigon just takes absolutely zero from that hit. So I'm just going to go for the U-turn, expecting him to try to go into his Comfy, not basically risking his entire Zebstrika's life. But that's what he decides to do, and he gets me there. I guess my guess is that the Hydreigon nickname kind of pushed him to not want to switch in his Comfy against Hydreigon. I would not be at all be surprised if that's what was happening here, but I'm going to go into my Tapu Koko, expecting him to try to go for a Hidden Power Grass, expecting me to go back into my Seismitoad there on my over prediction, but he just goes for a Volt Switch, so he got me there. He's going to be able to get his Comfy or Zoroark in against my Tapu Koko. I do think this is probably the Zoroark most likely, but either way, my best middle ground switch in is my Seismitoad, because if it is the Comfy, then I'll still be able, or regardless of which one it is, I'll be able to get my Seismitoad in and get my Stealth Rock up right here, which is really important for the Dragonite later on in the game, as well as the Mega Beedrill. Rocks are so good against this team, as now he's going to go straight into his Dragonite as I get my Stealth Rock up. Now here is where the game gets very, very scary, okay? I have Icy Wind on this set. I'm not switching out against a Dragonite. Way too big of a threat. I have to attack it right here. I think it's probably going to be a Z-move Dragonite, and I need to be able to either keep its speed low or at least break its multi-scale so that my Choice Scarf Hydreigon can take it out with a Scarfed Dragon Pulse, as he actually reveals to have the weakness policy. Now, if this is an Adamant Dragonite, he actually has a chance of sweeping my entire team right here, or at least sweeping through the vast majority of it. Okay, I think I still have ways to play around it because I do have the Hawlucha that is bulky, can get the defense boost and get off the fast Toxic against this thing, but I have to sack a lot of mons to get into position, so I have to basically hope he doesn't get the absolute max roll against my Hydreigon spread. He needed the absolute max to knock me out. Fortunately, he does not get the absolute max. I survive on 11 HP and I'm able to knock out the Dragonite and avoid basically catastrophe there by knocking out the Dragonite with a Dragon Pulse. So now he's going to go into probably his Comfy. Comfy. It could easily be the Comfy or the Zoroark, but now I at least have that little bit of Stealth Rock chip damage on whichever of the two it is, so I'll be able to gauge which of the two it is later on in the game, as I'm going to just pull the switch into my Tapu Koko, just in case, expecting him to go for something like a Draining Kiss. I thought that was probably the play he'd go for, but he actually goes for the Defog now, which that's fine. Honestly, I really needed the rocks for the Dragonite. After the Dragonite's gone, I can live without the rocks, as now he is just going to go for the Draining Kiss, and I make a little bit of an over prediction here. What I should have done on this turn is just gone for the Roost, because it was a no drawback safe play, but I really thought his best play was to go for a switch into his Lando T instead of potentially risking his only real way of dealing with my Choice Scarf Hydreigon. I thought that was a very dangerous play that he made. It worked out for him, so I can't really fault him for it, but I just didn't expect that to happen, honestly, as now I'm kind of forced to go into my Scavalier, and that over prediction that I made on the previous turn, this is why it's really more on me on that previous turn for getting the play wrong, because if this is a Hidden Power Fire Comfy, I'm in a really dangerous position, honestly, so I'm going to just go straight for the Protect just in case he has the Hidden Power Fire. Fortunately, he just goes for the U-turn, which kind of tells me he probably doesn't. And going into the match, I really didn't think he'd have it. Just kind of in my thought process and prep, I saw moves that I thought he would want more than Hidden Power Fire, and Hidden Power Fire wouldn't even cover for the potential Entei that I could have brought to try to deal with the Comfy, so I figured he'd go with something like U-turn instead of the Hidden Power Fire option, or even just go for like a Calm Mind instead and just go all in on Draining Kiss instead of bringing the Hidden Power Fire. So that's kind of what I expected in prep, and fortunately that is how this works out here in this game. So he is kind of forced to just switch into an Iron Head. He really has nothing that wants to switch into Iron Head. Even Lando T is looking very weakened at this point. Every time the Lando T comes in, I can just click Protect because I have the Toxic damage on it, and after 2 more rounds of the Toxic Poison, he should be in range of going down here, as he does just go for the Hidden Power Fire on my Protect, but due to the range of health that I'm at, I really think his best play is either to go for HP Fire or to go for an Earthquake. There's no other move that I think he's going to go for, and the fact that he hasn't gone for Rocks yet tells me he probably does not have Rocks on this Lando T. In fact, I would not be surprised if this is a Salt Fest Lando T to help him out against my Tapu Koko. So I just go into my Hawlucha expecting the Earthquake or another HP Fire. He does just go for the EQ and goes down. Here he goes into Comfy or Zoroark, but due to the Stealth Rock damage earlier, I know this is the Comfy, so I'm going to go straight into my Escavalier, knowing that he's practically revealed that he's not going to be able to do much damage to me at all, as he just goes for the Draining Kiss and it does negligible damage. Unfortunately, he heals back up to full, so I won't be able to distinguish between the two as easily anymore, but I think I still have the proper mid-ground pivots to be able to figure it out as we go, as he does just go straight for the U-turn. Again, he doesn't really have good switch-ins to my Iron Head, so I am just going to fire one of those off. He goes straight into the Zebstrika, and despite it being a resist, he does not appreciate that hit whatsoever. In fact, that looks like a 2-hit KO from that range. So, you know, I could stay in and try to go for it, but this thing definitely has the overheat. So I'm going to go straight into my Mega Gallade, I believe. Just Gallade. Either way, Gallade has good natural special defense, so I knew I'd be able to most likely take the overheat unless he was like a Modest Nature or Choice Specs, and I think he's already revealed to not be Choice Specs. So we had to be Modest to be able to knock me out from that range, and fortunately I'm able to take the hit. Going to go ahead and Mega Evolve with my Adamant Mega Gallade. I do have the Shadow Sneak. Zebstrika is very frail. It is going to go straight down to the Shadow Sneak. Mega Gallade will pick up its first kill of the game, as now he's going to go into Stinger, which could be either the Zoroark or the Mega Beedrill. I believe it is the Mega Beedrill, so I'm going to just go straight for the Shadow Sneak. It covered either way, honestly. Getting that chip damage off on a potential Zoroark would have basically made it no longer a mystery the rest of the game. I know exactly how much damage is on it, or getting that chip damage off on the Beedrill puts it in guaranteed range of my Hydreigon later on in the game. So either way, it was a win-win for me in that situation, as he's going to now go into Yato, which is his Zoroark. I am just going to go into my Hawlucha, knowing that because he has already revealed the Sludge Bomb, he cannot possibly have extra sensory on this Zoroark, so this will give me a very free Toxic on the likely incoming Comfy, which basically should spell the end for the Comfy be in the long term of this game. Unfortunately, that is in the long term of this game, and it will take some time to be able to actually accomplish that. But aside from that, I still have the Escavalier that can hopefully seal the deal a little bit quicker. It's just going to be a matter of positioning my Escavalier in a position where I can actually get the knockout on the Comfy, and he does have a few sacks still in the back to kind of mitigate that situation for the time being. As I'm going to go straight into my Escavalier, fortunately he just goes straight for the Draining Kiss instead of for the U-turn, so this should be an opportunity for me to go ahead and claim a kill with my Escavalier here. And I'm exactly what I'm going to try to do. He has the Mega Beedrill, he has the Zoroark in the back, and none of them want to take this hit, as he is just going to go straight for the U-turn, realizing the importance of Comfy in the late game and dealing with my offensive mons I have supporting my Escavalier right now, as he's just going to go into his Mega Beedrill, and he is not going to appreciate this hit whatsoever. Unfortunately, not going to be able to knock out actually the Zoroark. It still got me even after the fact. That's a Zoroark, not a Mega Beedrill. Even so, now I'll always be able to know where the Zoroark is. I'm just going to go for the Protect, though, just to scout out what he wants to go for. This is a really good move to have to scout out Choice Scarf users, as he does just go straight for, I believe that was the Flamethrower. I didn't actually see it when I was recording over this, but if I switch out, that means it was a Flamethrower. Yes, it was a Flamethrower, and now I'm going to go straight into my Hawlucha, knowing I can take any 2 hits with ease. This is a very bulky Hawlucha, as I've already mentioned, and you'll just see this Flamethrower from this probably max special attack Zoroark absolutely bounce off this Hawlucha. Bulky Hawlucha is a threat, boys. Do not overlook bulky Hawlucha. He's just going to go for another Flamethrower, probably hoping I don't have Roost on this set, but Roost was always my best play in this situation, as that's exactly what I'm going to go for here. Now, just in case he wants to stay in and just try to fish for a burn, I am just going to go straight for a Toxic with my Hawlucha, as that would mean that my Escavalier will be able to passively wear down the Zoroark through the Toxic turns or through the Protect turns later on in the game. Unfortunately, he makes the best play and goes straight into his Comfy, as now I'm just going to go for the Roost, expecting him to U-turn. Even if he attacked with his Comfy, I had enough bulk on this set to be able to basically heal back everything that he would have done to me with the Draining Kiss, and then I might have been able to condition him into a situation where I can get my Escavalier in and then get a kill that way. So that was the situation I was trying to set up in that, but even so, he does just U-turn out, goes into his Beedrill. Here I make a very aggressive play and go into my Escavalier. I felt like it was in my best interest to preserve the sacks that I had in the back, just in case I got outplayed like several turns in a row later on in the game. I know this was a very risky play going into my Escavalier there, because if he had knockoff, potentially that could have 2-hit KO'd me from that range. I just didn't think he'd go for it in that situation. I was actually very confident that he wouldn't go for it, and it did work out there in the end, as I was able to be immune to the Poison Jab, eat up the Drill Run, and knock out the Mega Beedrill with a Iron Head from the Escavaliers. Now he's going to go into his Comfy Zoroark. I'm going to just go straight into my Hawlucha. I'm not going to mess around with this thing. As he makes a nice play, just go straight for the U-turn here, which was pretty crazy, because that was the one turn I didn't actually just go straight for a Protect with my Escavalier. So that's pretty wild that he was able to get that prediction correct, as if I just Protected there and saw the U-turn, it could have Iron-Headed and the game would have been over right then. But even so, I just go into my Hawlucha. I'm going to Protect on the Comfy's Draining Kiss, and this is where you start to see, you know, more of those Protect shenanigans with my team, just trying to get myself in the proper position to be able to clean up the game. In the end, I just need to break down one of these 2 mons, and then I'll be able to break through the other with relative ease at that point. As I just go into my Escavalier on the Comfy. If he goes for U-turn, the game continues. If he doesn't go for a U-turn, then the game's essentially over at that point. But he makes the play that keeps him in the game. He goes for the U-turn, now goes into his Zoroark, and because he went for U-turn last time, I pretty much am inclined to just go for a Protect this time, just in case he wants to make the try-hard play again. And it's exactly what I do. He does just go for the Flamethrower this time around, and that just means I have a relatively free switch into the Hawlucha. if that's what I want to do. At some point in the matter, I'm actually going to pull a switch into my Koko instead, because that'll essentially force his hand and force the end game. But I'm not sure if I do that quite yet here. Well, we'll see what I switch into at this point, as it is actually the Koko. So this is where I go into my Koko to try to force his hand. Basically what this does is he has to either make the man's play of all man's plays and U-turn on my Koko to continue the game, or he has to go for a Draining Kiss here, trying to knock out my Koko to potentially net him a kill, or to just get himself back into a position where, you know, he might have a chance or whatever. But I do expect him to go for that Draining Kiss, and I just go back into my Escavalier again, and now we're in position to be able to win this game, as all I really needed was to get the Escavalier into this specific position to be able to claim another kill here in this game. He's just going to go for the taunt, revealing what his last move was on this set. I thought it might have been Synthesis, but it does end up just being the taunt, as I'm just going to go for the Iron Head and knock out the Comfy. All he has left is that Zoroark, and, you know, I know for a fact that I could just switch hard into my Hawlucha against the Zoroark and chew up literally any hit without any fear whatsoever. But, you know, I know this Escavalier gave him a really hard time through this game, so I'm going to go ahead and throw him a bone here. I'm going to let him go ahead and knock out the Escavalier despite not really needing to. And now I can just go straight into my Hawlucha, trigger my Electric Seed, guaranteed outspeed this Choice Scarf Zoroark, and knock this thing out with an Acrobatics. And your Kansas City Jirachiefs are going to pick up the victory against PaPaSea and the New York Klinks. Score 1 for the GBA. So what very good game to PaPaSea. This matchup was so hard, like I was saying before, and, you know, we're really fortunate to have been able to pull out the victory here for sure. But make sure to go check out my opponent's channel, check out his side of the battle as well. We're uploading at the exact same time, so if you've seen my side and haven't seen his side yet, make sure to go check out the description below. The link to his channel will be there. Click that, go check out his side of the match too, and show him some love in on the like button and in his comments below as well. So he's a really good guy, like I've said before, and pretty solid content too. I think you'll enjoy it. So that's about all I have for now. Thanks for watching, guys, and our next matchup will be coming up probably in a couple days. I'm going to try to get all these up, or the last one up, before the release of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, but you know, if I don't, it'll probably be sometime over the weekend. So I guess it'll either be on Thursday-ish or it'll be like Sunday-ish. Just be on the lookout for that, I suppose. I don't know if I can tell you who my opponent is. I really don't know how this whole thing is working, so I won't tell you yet, but I'll just say that it should be a very good game. My opponent is very strong as a player, so it should be one you're looking forward to. So that's about all I have for now. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.